A soldier's dark secret unveiled, thrown out with twin kids, but everything changed at midnight on a stormy night, the air crackled with unease. Shadows danced ominously around the dilapidated house where Mark, a battle-weary soldier, faced his darkest moment. Just hours ago, he sat in a cold corner, clutching his twin kids, Lily and Ben, their innocent faces mirroring the fear that tightened his chest. The world outside raged in chaos, but inside, the heavier silence spoke of betrayal and secrets that clawed at the walls like wild, scratching fingers. Mark's life unraveled like frayed rope. When he returned from war, the cheers he expected turned to whispers that suffocated him. He was thrown out, stripped of his dignity, like a rag doll cast aside after a long play. The townspeople, faces lined with judgment, exchanged looks of scorn. They couldn't understand. They didn't know what he had seen, or what he had done. The weight of the truth bore down on him, squeezing out breath, leaving only a lump in his throat. Then there was the voice. Mark could still hear it echoing in his mind, a low, sinister tone that seemed to emerge from the shadows around him. Was it real? Or a figment of his fatigue? "They'll come for you," it hissed, sending chills racing down his spine. He had been warned, but warned about what? Night after night, anxiety gnawed at him, feeding on memories he wished to forget. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, freezing the air. The clock struck midnight. Mark glanced at the twins, fast asleep. They were lost in a world of dreams, far removed from the nightmare that enveloped him. But just as he thought he could breathe again, a knock shattered the stillness. It resonated like a death knell, deep and foreboding, vibrating through the walls. "Who is there?" he called, heart racing. Silence answered, wrapping him tighter within its suffocating grasp. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The knock came again, more urgent now. Mark's heart thundered in his chest. A quick glance at his twins confirmed they slept peacefully, blissfully unaware. Should he open the door? Every instinct screamed to run, to hide. But who would knock at this hour? What if it was someone from the past? Someone with a vendetta? Just then, a gust of wind howled, rattling the windows, as if the night itself warned him. He stood frozen, sweat beading at his temples, teetering on the edge of a decision that could change everything. And as he took a step towards the door, he wondered, was this the moment his dark secret would finally emerge, dragging him into a deeper abyss? The air thickened as Mark edged closer to the door, his breath shallow and rapid. The pounding on the wooden frame echoed in his mind like a war drum. Anxiety wrapped its icy fingers around his heart, squeezing tighter with each beat. He hesitated. Should he confront whatever lay beyond? Every bone in his body told him to turn back, to protect his kids from whatever horror awaited them. Another knock rattled the door, urgent and insistent. "Open up." The voice was raspy, harsh, as if it had clawed its way from the depths of the night. Mark's instincts froze, caught in an invisible vice where fight and flight collided. "Who is it?" he managed to croak, his voice barely above a whisper, each word coated in fear. The night held its breath, even the wind paused, as if curious about his fate. "It's me. Let me in. We don't have time." There was a pause, a weighty silence before the voice spoke again, urgently this time. "Mark, it's about the children. They're in danger. You need to trust me." Danger? His heart raced now, not just with fear but with an unsettling recognition. The voice belonged to Sarah, his estranged sister. He hadn't seen her in years, not since everything went down, not since the whispers had driven her away. What could she possibly want? Why should I trust you? His words were sharp, echoing the distance of their fractured relationship. Memories surged through his mind, her disappointed gaze, her quiet descent into disappointment after his return from war. The betrayal, the judgments, they all played like scenes on a rain-soaked screen. Because it's true. She shouted, desperation oozing from her tone. You don't understand, it's the reason they left you. They'll come for the kids. We need to move, now. Panic surged within him. What in the hell did she mean? He took a bold step back from the door, his children's safety at the forefront of his mind. He whispered, dread coiling in his stomach. Suddenly, the world felt too still. The wind outside howled as if warning him that time was running out. Mark's mind raced with what he had buried deep within him. Were there real consequences for the choices he had made? Choices made those terrible nights. Could they jeopardize the innocence of Lily and Ben? Please, Mark. Open the door. Sarah's voice cracked, urgency spilling over into panic. You have to believe me. They know what you did and they're coming. The truth of her words struck harder than any bullet he had faced in combat. Reality twisted around him like a noose. The memories flooded back, flashes of blurred faces, grim decisions made in the chaos of war, and the lingering horror of what he had never told anyone. Mark shot a look over his shoulder at the twins, still sleeping. Their tiny breaths were a soft reminder of all he had lost, all he was fighting for. They didn't deserve this. With trembling hands, he reached for the door, his heart pounding in sync with the frantic beats outside. I'll open it, but you better tell me everything. He pulled the door wide, and the storm raged even fiercer as light spilled into the darkness. But before he could speak, a piercing scream shattered the night, ringing out from somewhere in the distance. Mark's eyes darted toward Sarah, who stood there, wide-eyed and pale, as if she had seen a ghost. What was that? He whispered, fear creeping back into his voice, as shadows seemed to close in around them. Worse than you can imagine, she replied, stepping forward with urgency in her eyes. Now we need to run. They're here. Before he could respond, a figure lunged from the shadows, and Mark's world spiraled into chaos once more. The figure sprung at them, a dark silhouette slicing through the storm-washed air, and Mark's instincts kicked in. He shoved Sarah behind him, his body an armory of paranoia, every muscle tense. Get away from us. He yelled, voice hoarse but determined. He fumbled for anything that could serve as a weapon, hands trembling with adrenaline. The figure halted, just out of reach, and from the shadows, a face emerged, tangled hair, hollow cheeks, eyes burning with the intensity of lost dreams. Mark! It shrieked, voice crackling like ice breaking. You don't remember me, do you? His breath hitched. Recognition fought through the haze of fear. No, it can't be Matt. The name tumbled out, unwelcome and heavy. His old squad member, the one whose ghost haunted every sleepless night. Exactly, Matt hissed, laughter mingled with madness. You left me. You chose to forget. But I never faded away. Mark's heart raced as Matt closed in, shadows swirling like phantoms around him. What do you want from me? His mind scrambled for logic in the chaos. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not tonight. I want justice. Matt spat, the veins in his neck bulging. You abandoned me. The mission, the secrets, they don't stay buried forever. Now they want recompense, and they're coming for your kids. The words landed like daggers, each one twisting in the wound of guilt Mark had carried for years. Memories flooded back, a fateful night, a choice made in the heat of war, men left behind. The haunted faces of those who did not make it, the fury of the souls still searching for retribution. Before he could process this new layer of horror, a rustle in the bushes caught his attention. He turned sharply, fear electrifying his spine. From the depths of the yard emerged more figures, their forms indistinct but unmistakably menacing. The wind carried a low, guttural chant that crawled under his skin, chilling him to the bone. Mark, Sarah whispered, clutching his arm, eyes desperate. We can't stand here. We have to get the kids and leave. Leave? Mark felt torn. Could he abandon everything to run from the nightmares of his past? What if they take them? Matt's cackle sliced through his thoughts. What do you think they want? You'll pay for your sins, soldier. A pair of hands reached for Sarah, and without thinking, Mark lunged. He shoved her behind him again, adrenaline surging as he pushed against the chaos looming around them. He had to fight. He must protect his children. This ends here. Mark shouted, channeling every ounce of soldier's strength he had left. But just as quickly as he sprang into motion, the shadows dove back into the night, merging into a singular dark form that encircled them from every direction. They were simply waiting. Run! Mark shouted, shoving Sarah toward the house, but as they turned, a figure stood in the doorway, blocking their escape. Did you really think you could run from the truth? Lily and Ben stared wide-eyed from the darkness of the house, innocence wrapped in confusion, unaware of the storm brewing around them. In that moment, a shattering realization struck him. The danger wasn't just lurking in the night. No, the danger had always been tied to his past, and it was creeping closer to his kids. Mark! Sarah screamed, desperation fueling her voice. We must go. Now. But there was only one way out, and it was leading them right back into the jaws of a dark, unforgiving legacy. As they scrambled to push past the figure blocking their path, the weight of revelation bore down on Mark. The greater peril was just beginning. Mark's heart pounded as he stared at the figure blocking their way. It wasn't just Matt haunting him, it was his very own child, Lily, standing rooted like a statue. Daddy? She whispered, her voice trembling as she looked between the shadowy forms outside and the chaos unfolding before her. Lily, get back. Now. Mark's voice was a desperate roar, slicing through the thick air like a knife. The last thing he needed was for his children to witness this horror. Mark! Sarah cried, panic twisting her features. The shadows were gathering again, poised to pounce, their chants rising in a low, suffocating hum. What do we do? Get them into the basement. It's out the safest place, he said, his mind racing. Every instinct screamed to protect, to shield his family from the darkness. But would his past allow it? Daddy! I'm scared. Ben's small voice broke, clutching Lily's hand. Please, just do what I say. Mark was torn between protecting his children and confronting the nightmare before him. Matt's laughter echoed in the night, reminding him of the unbearable truth. He didn't just abandon his friend, he abandoned responsibility. Suddenly, the figure in the doorway stepped forward, disheveled hair, familiar features twisted in a grimace of pain. You always thought you could outrun your choices, didn't you? But here we are, Mark, Matt said, venom dripping from his words. They're waiting for you. The past has come to collect. Mark felt his spine tighten, the energy in the air thickening like fog. I'm not afraid of you. He shouted, gripping Sarah's arm, pulling her toward the doorway. Is that so? Matt sneered. Then you won't mind if I take a little peek at your precious children. In a flash, Matt lunged, but Mark was ready. He charged forward, intercepting Matt, their bodies colliding with a brutal thud. Go! Mark shouted to Sarah, throwing his opponent off balance. She hesitated, fear clouding her judgment, but behind them, the shadows began to shift, drawing closer. In an instant, Sarah snapped to action, taking the kids' hands. This way. Follow me. They darted toward the narrow hallway, the darkness pressing against their backs, and with every step, Mark could feel the pit in his stomach deepen. He wrestled with Matt, the memories of their shared past pushing against him like a wave. We're not the same. You can't hold me accountable for what happened. Matt's grip tightened, pain radiating through Mark's arms. You think you can bury it all? You're a coward. With a surge of rage, Mark threw a punch, connecting solidly with Matt's jaw. He stumbled back, a moment of surprise flickering across his face. In that breath, Mark bolted toward the hallway, heart racing, desperate. As they reached the small staircase leading down to the basement, he glanced back to see the figures glowing with an unearthly light, merging into one mass. "Dad, where are you going?" Ben's little voice quivered in the dim light, the cracks of fear echoing throughout the space. "Down!" Mark hissed, urgency flooding through him. "Now!" Just as they landed on the first step, another figure materialized, this one a woman, her face distorted in rage. "You think you can hide from me?" she screamed, her voice splintering the air like glass. "Mark!" Sarah's voice trembled, panic rising anew as they huddled close, confusion and terror swirling in their eyes. Time stood still, a chasm of dread and uncertainty enveloping them. Was it too late? Had they already dug their own graves? The basement door creaked ominously as Mark pushed it shut, locking away the nightmare above. But even here, he could feel the chilling certainty that the darkness was far from gone. What awaited them in that suffocating silence? Would the true extent of his past finally be unleashed? As the door clicked shut, the darkness of the basement wrapped around them like a shroud. The only sound was the frantic beat of Mark's heart echoing in his ears as he turned to face the chaos brewing within him. "Where do we go now, Dad?" Lily whispered, her small voice trembling as she felt her father's fear, the shadows of their former life still fresh. Mark felt guilt clawing at him. He had summoned them here. "Just stay close," he murmured, more to himself than to the kids. He flicked on a flashlight, the beam slicing through the oppressive darkness, revealing damp concrete walls and an old, worn-out furnace that rattled like a living beast. "Why can't we go back up?" Ben asked, his wide eyes brimming with tears. "I want to go home." Mark swallowed hard, fighting back memories of a life before the shadows. "Because it's not safe up there," he said slowly, weighing the words as if they might shatter the truth. "Why?" Lily's innocent question hit harder than he expected. "Because, sometimes, the past comes to haunt you," Mark replied hollowly, the truth of it like an iron weight on his chest. The sound of muffled voices floated down the stairs, a gruesome, discordant choir. Mark couldn't understand what they were saying, but it sent a shiver down his spine. "Mom. Are you okay?" Ben's voice cracked open like an egg, and Mark felt that familiar panic twist in his gut. He nodded to Sarah, who stood trembling by the stairs, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. "I'm fine," she whispered, but the tremor in her hands spoke volumes. The chanting grew louder, invading the hollow space, pressing against the walls like a physical force. "What are they saying?" Lily asked, peering closer to the beam of light in search of answers. Mark strained to listen. The words slid into focus, chilling him to the bone. "You cannot escape," echoed in eerie unison. "You owe for what you've done, stay back." Mark snapped, moving in front of his children like a human shield. His body tensed under the weight of knowing he wasn't just fighting for his present, he was fighting against shadows of the past, the mistakes pulled from the darkness itself. "What did you do?" Sarah's voice was soft but edged with disbelief. Just then, the temperature in the basement plunged, making their breaths visible, plumes of white rising like ghosts. I thought I could leave it behind," Mark struggled to explain, his head spinning. Memories flooded his mind, the car crash, the secrets kept, and Matt's voice warning him like a siren. Before he could dwell on what he had done, a loud bang echoed from behind the door. "Let me in." A booming voice roared, rattling the old wood. "Mark, you can't hide forever. You owe us. You owe me." Panic surged through him as he glanced at the kids, their faces lit by fear. What if the angry ghosts of his past pushed down the door? What if they remembered everything he had tried to bury? "Get behind me!" Mark shouted, his body instinctively positioned to defend. The door creaked under pressure, the sound of splintering wood seeping into the air. He knew then this was more than just a fight for survival, it was a fight for redemption. With a hard swallow, he faced what was on the other side. The door burst open, light flooding the basement and revealing figures cloaked in darkness, their faces twisted with rage. He stood frozen, heart racing, knowing he had one chance to alter the fate looming before him. Would the truth set him free, or would it damn them all? As shadows tethered to his past surged forth, Mark took a step forward, ready to confront the very demons he had tried to forget. The figures loomed in the doorway, their silhouettes stark against the light that spilled into the basement like a flood. Mark's breath caught in his throat, and he felt the weight of fear pressing down not just on him, but on his children. He could see their wide eyes reflecting a mixture of confusion and terror. "Dad, what's happening?" Ben's voice trembled, a quiver that made Mark's heart twist. "Stay back." Mark hissed again, his own voice low and urgent, a desperate plea cloaked in authority. His eyes darted between the dark figures and Sarah, who stood frozen in shock. "This isn't how it ends." One of the figures stepped forward, the light illuminating a face that resembled a ghost of his past Matt. Dark hair tousled, eyes filled with a rage that Mark had long tried to bury under layers of regret. "You really thought you could just walk away?" Matt's voice was a low growl, malice dripping from every word. "You owe us, Mark. You owe me." Memories of the night that changed everything crashed over Mark like a tidal wave. The argument, the accident, the secrets followed by a haunting silence. He clenched his jaw, trying to anchor himself in the present. "I didn't have a choice." He shot back, a deeper truth hidden in his words. "Enough of the excuses." A second figure shouted, stepping from the shadows. The cruel sneer on her lips was unmistakable. "Rebecca." Her eyes glimmered with a furious light, and Mark felt a chill race down his spine. "They know what you did." She spat, advancing closer. "And we're here to collect. They can't hurt you." Sarah finally found her voice, stepping bravely beside Mark as if she could block the darkness with her small frame. "You won't take him away from us, you can't." The figures paused for a moment, surprised by her defiance, but their rage only seemed to grow. "Is that so? You think you can shield him from the truth?" Matt's laugh was cold and cruel. "You don't know what he's capable of. What he's done." Tension crackled in the air, palpable and suffocating. Mark felt the pulsating energy shift. He understood the fight wasn't just theirs. It was a reckoning. The past demanding its due. Suddenly, Ben whimpered, pressing into Lily, seeking comfort. "Daddy, I'm scared." "Make them go away." Mark's heart shattered. He was supposed to protect them, yet here they stood, engulfed in his mistakes. A surge of determination ignited within him. "Get behind me," he commanded, his voice fierce enough to cut through the suffocating sense of dread. "You can't outrun your sins, Mark," Matt shouted. "They will always find you." "Maybe it's time for the truth to be set free," Rebecca added with a wicked smile. "But are you ready to face it?" A gust of wind seemed to swirl within the basement as if the shadows themselves began to swirl, hungry for release, eager to consume everything in their path. Mark could almost hear the whispers of all his regrets, the choices that had led him to this moment. With his children trembling beside him, he realized fear was no longer an option. "Listen to me," Mark said, leaning down to meet his children's terrified gazes. "Whatever happens, I'll protect you. We'll face this together." The figures began to converge, darkness thickening in the air like fog, ready to swallow them whole. Mark knew he had to find his voice, the one that would pierce through the gathering storm. "Maybe I can't change the past," he shouted at the encroaching shadows, "but I can fight for my family, now and always." As silence enveloped the basement, a crack of energy surged. Would it be enough? Could he turn this tide? And in that heartbeat of uncertainty, he felt something shift, the shadows hesitating, caught off guard by his fierce resolve. What awaited them in the depths of confrontation? Would redemption flourish in the face of their darkest fears, or would betrayal fall like the final curtain? The darkness pulsed, a living thing, recoiling at Mark's defiance. He stared into the faces of Matt and Rebecca, anchored by their furious energy. His heart pounded each beat, a reminder of the stakes involved. "Do you think you have the courage to face us?" Rebecca stepped closer, her voice curling like smoke in the air. "You never dared back then. What makes you think you can now?" Mark felt his children huddle behind him, their fear palpable. He turned to them, his heart breaking at the sight of their trembling forms. "No matter what they say, I'm here," he whispered, catching Ben's wide eyes and Sarah's pale face. They needed him. He could almost taste their hope, clinging to him like a lifeline. "Remember the stories, Mark?" Matt's voice dripped with venom. "The real reason you ran. We both know running won't erase the truth." Mark's stomach churned. He didn't want them to dig deeper into a past better left buried. But now, with the shadows encroaching, he felt a boiling rage begin to rise. "You don't know the first thing about courage." He spat, each word laced with defiance, but Rebecca laughed, a sound that echoed through the basement like nails on a chalkboard. "Courage? You mean the courage to drown in your guilt? The courage to abandon those who needed you most?" The air thickened with tension. Mark clenched his fists, every fiber of his being screaming in protest against their twisted truths. "It was an accident." "Accident?" Matt sneered, stepping closer, his shadow looming larger. "Oh, it was much more than that. You think we'll let you just walk away from the wreckage you've caused?" Mark felt the heat of humiliation wash over him. The specter of the accident loomed, relentless and inescapable. But the anger surged, feeding off his vulnerability. "You think I'm alone in this? I don't owe you anything. You think fear gives you power? Watch me prove you wrong." Rebecca's eyes blazed with fury. "You can shout as loud as you wish. When the truth comes crashing down, it won't just be you facing it. It'll be your children too." "No!" Mark roared, stepping forward, blocking the pathway to his family. The shadows skittered backward, flickering with uncertainty, momentarily halted by the intensity of his heartbreak. Then, from underneath the stairwell, something caught his eye. A glimmer, metallic and sharp. His breath quickened, instinct kicked in. If he could reach it, Sarah, Ben. "Stay close!" he yelled, lunging toward the glimmer, praying it would give him the strength he needed. "Look at him!" Matt roared, rage boiling as he lunged forward. "The coward can't even face the music." Mark grasped the object in his hand, an old wrench, heavy and solid. As he turned, the weight of it grounded him. He faced Matt, the wild fury in his eyes. Whatever darkness had come before, this was his chance to reclaim the power over his life. "You think I'm afraid?" Mark said, his voice steady as iron. "You don't know who I've become. You're not a ghost that haunts me anymore." The instant response was a collective inhale. Rebecca caught in the disbelief, Matt's sneer faltering. Time froze as everything locked into place, fear met determination. In that breath, Mark felt a shudder of hope break through, yet uncertainty still crackled in the air. Would he find the strength to sever the chains binding him to his past? And when the reckoning arrived, who would truly stand victorious? As the basement echoed with a stillness so profound it threatened to swallow them whole, an unsettling truth loomed just ahead, one he could not foresee, one that may haunt him long past his final stand. The wrench felt heavy in Mark's grasp, a reassuring weight that grounded him in a reality all too chaotic. As he faced Matt, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him, igniting something he thought had long since withered away. The silence was suffocating, pregnant with anticipation. It felt as if the very walls of the basement were leaning in, hungry for the confrontation. Matt's face twisted with rage, eyes burning like hot coals. "You want me to cower? You think you can brandish that like a brave knight?" He took a step forward, menace oozing from his every pore. "That's your plan? To swing at me with rusty tools? Pathetic." Behind him, Rebecca shifted, her smirk fading into something unrecognizable. It's not just Matt you have to face, Mark. You really think you can fight both of us? This isn't high school drama anymore. This is life. Mark's breath hitched, memories surging through his mind like a tidal wave. Images of the accident. The screaming. The smoke. He wanted to forget, to bury it where no one could disturb it, but resentment festered inside. He clenched the wrench tighter, feeling the cold metal bite against his palm. No more hiding. No more running. You will never understand the choice I made that day. You don't know what it means to sacrifice everything to protect your family. He bellowed, the words spilling out, raw and unfiltered. Ben and Sarah flinched behind him, their eyes wide. Mark turned slightly, catching a glimpse of their faces surprised, frightened, but filled with an unmistakable spark of faith. He might not be a superhero, but he would stand firm. For them, the shadows shifted again, swirling around Rebecca and Matt, their forms blurring as if the darkness conspired with their intent. You think that wrench will save you? The truth is still coming, Mark. You think you have control. Rebecca's voice turned into a whisper, laced with malice. You have no idea what we've led you to. Just then, the basement door creaked open to a narrow shaft of blinding light. A rush of noise drummed through the opening, sirens blaring, voices calling. The light invaded the dark corners of the room, and Mark glanced back, blinded for a fraction of a second. Police! A voice boomed, piercing through the oppressive air. It sent a fresh wave of panic through Matt and Rebecca. Get down on the ground. Mark's heart raced. The sudden clamor injected a renewed energy into the standoff. We need to go there here. Ben gasped, tugging at Mark's shirt, urgency drenching his voice. In that moment of distraction, Mark lunged toward Matt, wrench raised. But before he could strike, Rebecca let out a primal scream that echoed through the basement, shaking the very foundations of their shared history. The cry hit Mark like a sledgehammer, making the blood freeze in his veins. Now you're going to pay for everything, she shrieked, her expression morphing into a primal mask of fury. You think the past will just let you go? We're tied together, Mark. You can't escape us. With a startling flash, Matt charged forward, forcing Mark backward, the wrench slipping from his grip. The cold floor rushed up to meet him, and fear clawed at his throat. Get off him! Sarah screamed, stepping forward with a fierceness that surprised even Mark. But as Mark pushed himself up, he caught sight of something just above the stairs. Something shone like a beacon amidst the chaos. A familiar shape, pulsing with a strange glow. His breath caught in his throat. Could it be Mark? Ben cried, desperate and frantic, pulling his father closer. What are you going to do? As the tension escalated and fury exchanged hands, the air felt charged, drawn tight like a bowstring ready to snap. What awaited them in that blinding light? Would it deliver clarity or further ensnare them in their dark web? The moment felt suspended, a prelude to something unforgiving. Would Mark's confrontation unravel the truth, or would it bind them all together in a tragedy far worse than what he could imagine? With the police growing nearer, another revelation loomed, one that could either free him or shatter everything he held dear. The chaos erupted like a dam breaking, all restraint lost in an agonizing rush. Matt's shadow loomed over Mark, a twisted caricature of vengeance, while Rebecca's eyes flickered with unhinged delight. Every heartbeat pulsed in time with the sheer terror that engulfed the basement. Mark, step back! Sarah screamed, her voice slicing through the air like a knife. The bright ceiling light flickered as the first responding officer's silhouette edged into the doorway, bathed in the glow, a lifeline of hope amidst despair, but Matt wasn't done yet. He lunged toward Mark with a crazed fury, the smell of sweat and desperation thick between them. You think you can hide behind kids? You're not a hero. You're just a coward playing pretend. Mark recoiled, scrambling to regain his footing. For the first time, a debilitating doubt gnawed at him. Was he really about to make a choice that could hurt his family? Just then, the bulb overhead flickered again, casting shadows that danced ominously across the walls. "Stop!" the officer shouted, entering further into the room. "Get down! Now!" But that surge of authority only seemed to heighten the tension. The moment was electric, every second felt like an eternity. Matt's fist swung in a wide arc, narrowly missing Mark's face as he dodged. The overwhelming desire to protect his kids surged hot and furious. He felt a primal need to fight back, but would it only put them in greater danger? "Mark!" Ben screamed again, his wide eyes reflecting the horror unfolding before him. The weight of their gazes ignited a fire inside him. Mark gritted his teeth, unwilling to be a victim any longer. In defiance, he shot forward, shoving his shoulder against Matt. The impact sent them both reeling back, crashing against the basement wall with a resounding thud. "Get the hell away from him!" Sarah yelled, her small hands balling into fists. She drew on every ounce of courage, her voice trembling yet fierce, but Mark wasn't listening. He was lost in a haze of desperation. His eyes locked onto that pulsing light. Whatever it was, it beckoned him with urgency. Was it a way out, perhaps the truth he desperately needed? "Mark! Don't!" Rebecca's voice echoed, and with it came a wave of an all-too-familiar pain, memories colliding with reality. "You think you can escape your fate?" Their eyes clashed, a flame igniting between them. She wasn't just chanting threats, she was speaking a twisted promise. In that shocking moment of clarity, Mark felt the swell of something deeper. Was it guilt? Or maybe the relentless need for redemption? "Stop this!" The officer barked, raising his weapon uncertainly, caught between the chaos of human emotion and the need for law. The moment hung, wavering like a tightrope stretched above a chasm. Then Mark saw it, glimmering. His wrench lay forgotten on the floor. Could it be a tool for healing? Or a weapon to deepen the wounds of their shared past? With the police shouting orders and the tension spiraling into a crescendo, Mark felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He had to decide. Would he fight with everything he had, risking everything for the misplaced wrath that had chased him through the years? Or would he take a stand against all that had haunted him, letting the past consume them? In one breathless moment, he made his choice. The basement trembled as if aware, the very air humming with potential. "Stop!" Mark shouted, his voice echoing through the turmoil. "I will not let you destroy this family." What lay on the other side of that decision? Would it bring liberation or unleash a darkness long since buried? Silence fell, pregnant with expectation. In that heartbeat of stillness, with shadows swirling like storm clouds, everything came down to that moment. Mark stared hard at the figures before him. Matt, Rebecca, their faces twisted with rage and accusation. He could sense the fear prickling behind him, the warmth of his children sheltered by their mother's side, clinging together in a fragile unity. "Make them go away, Daddy!" Ben cried, his little voice cracking, a plea dripping with innocence and terror. Mark's heart wrenched painfully, the weight of his past clawed at him, and the need to protect his family burned brighter than the dark memories that loomed over them. "Step forward, Mark." Matt sneered, reveling in the drama. "This will never be over until the truth is laid bare." The echoes of the past rattled through Mark's mind like a broken record, and though the pain surged, his resolve hardened. With an almost primal yell, he grabbed the wrench, the cool metal grounding him. He pointed it toward the figures, shaking with an intensity born of all he had fought for. "You want the truth?" he thundered. "Fine. Let us do this." As if his challenge had released a dam within him, his memories poured forth. He recalled every moment, every choice echoing in the shadows, confronting the difficult reality that he hadn't just been a victim of his circumstances. He had made choices that led to pain but also to growth. "Mark." Sarah's voice rang clear and strong. "Come back. You don't have to face this alone." The power of her love swirled around him like an invisible shield, reinforcing his strength. The shadows loomed closer, eyes burning with indignation, but they hesitated at the light of his conviction. "I'm done running," he shouted. The echoes of lost years faded under the intensity of his newfound courage. I didn't abandon you, Matt. I chose life for my family. Matt's bravado faltered for a moment, and like a wolf stripped of its threat, he recoiled. You can't just pretend it didn't happen. The price is still due. But I've paid. Mark countered fiercely, fury blending with a sorrow he could no longer hide. With my heart, my mind, my very soul. Everything I did to protect my family. The air in the basement thickened, a charged pulse racing through the group frozen in uncertainty. Mark stepped forward, wrench held high not as a weapon of violence but as a symbol of his refusal to let anger dictate his life any longer. As if sensing the shift, Rebecca's eyes flared with frustration, but she fell oddly silent. You'll regret this, Mark. We are bound by blood, you can't escape us. Maybe, he acknowledged, trembling but empowered. But my children will not suffer for my mistakes. I won't let you hurt them. You're not my past, you're just shadows. You have no power over me anymore. The weight in the basement shifted, the oppressive darkness recoiling slightly at his words. It was a moment of clarity, a sliver of hope. The shadows around them flickered, losing their coherency. Mark's voice rang louder than the chaos, penetrating the thick mirage of resentment. Let go of the past. He declared. Whatever you think I owe you, I'll make my amends by living for today. In that instant, the shadows fractured, splintering away from him and wavering as if they were mere mist trying to hold on to the edges of tangible life. The light from the officers grew sharper behind them, the promise of safety beckoned. Feeling the simultaneous release of fear and reclamation, Mark turned back, looking at his children. Relief spilled over from his heart into his eyes. Stay close, I'll always protect you. Lily gripped Ben's hand tighter. We love you, Daddy. Her innocent faith burst like fireworks illuminating the darkness. The laughter that once echoed into the shadows gave way to echoes of genuine relief. It wasn't just the danger that receded, it was an opportunity for healing, one that Mark had long fought to uncover within himself. Let us get to the light. Sarah propelled them forward, and they stepped over the threshold into the open doorway where officers stood ready, faces etched with concern and determination. The world beyond the basement brimmed with possibilities. As they embraced the warmth of the light, the figures receded, slinking back into the shadows, their hold breaking like a dream dissipating at dawn. Mark held his children close, feeling their warmth, heart swelling with love, relief washing over them like rain. Together, he said softly, his voice echoing triumph in the aftermath of chaos. Always together. And as they stepped into the brightness of the unknown, he knew in his bones that while life wouldn't be simple, it could be filled with hope one day at a time. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting just around the corner. Smash that like button now, it helps us out with the algorithm and means the world to us. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support keeps our amazing community alive.